Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, guys, for your greatest support. Now, fellow Kenyans, there is something that is going on in NYANZA, in Kisumu, Siaya, Migori, and Homa Bay. 4 counties that are coming from NYANZA, that builds up NYANZA, and this thing really needs to be addressed. Actually, I've been asked to do this. I was asked yesterday to do this by one of you, but I really wanted to know more about what it means. There is this issue of unregistered 1.5 million NYANZA voters to swing 2027 polls. This is something that, according to the people, maybe according to people that are just seeing it, it might look like this is nothing. But if you try to look at it deeply in terms of registration, in terms of votes, in terms of everything, like the 2027 and all that, it is something that is really carrying a lot of weight. Why am I saying that it's carrying a lot of weight? If you try to look at the people, if you try to look at the votes, since during the time that Raila Odinga was alive and all that, these people, imagine these people were just alive and they never even registered as voters. I don't know how it has been discovered right now. Now, this thing was discovered, and in fact, it was aired out, it was published by the Standard. Let me just repeat this, that unregistered 1.5 million NYANZA voters to swing 2027 polls. What does this mean? This one means that if you try to look at the 2027 general election, these people are really going to bring change. Now, which change these people are going to bring? I don't know how this thing was discovered just recently. It had never been discovered during the time that Raila Odinga was alive. Now, back in 20,000 when Raila Odinga, let me just say when Raila Odinga was vying for the presidency, the people that were voting, NYANZA as a block was voting, but now 60%, 60 to 70% of the people that registered as voters were the ones that were voting. But now the 30%, nobody knew where it was going to. We have got a very good, even the census, when the census were done, we found out that the Luo NYANZA was carries a lot of weight. Like there are a lot of people in Luo NYANZA during the census. But now when it comes to the elections and when it comes to voting, we find out that Luo NYANZA really performed poorly during the time that Raila Odinga wanted to become the president. That is why I have decided that we should dive in and talk about this issue of unregistered 1.5 million NYANZA voters. And because why I feel like we really need to talk about this is because I've realized that there is a massive registration which is currently underway in NYANZA. There is when you talk about massive registration that is currently ongoing in NYANZA, it means that yes, this thing has been discovered and it is a challenge. The person that is leading this thing is Raymond Omolo. That is the P. Actually, what Raymond Omolo is doing is just lighting a momentum. Is just trying to make sure that all these people are registered as voters. One thing we have to understand is that yes, he's going to do this, but on whose benefit? Raymond Omolo is working under William Ruto, right? And according to the statistics and according to how people are seeing things or how things are working or how things are, there is high chances of William Ruto going to use Raymond Omolo coming 2027. And that is why the moment this issue was discovered, that there are 1.5 million people who are neither registered as voters or have IDs. And imagine, these people are aged between 18 years to 60 years. So this is what I want us to talk about. I want us to dive and talk deeply about this thing and ask ourselves, why now? Why now and not those other years when Raila Odinga was alive, when he wanted to become the president? Why is it that this thing now is becoming a concern right now. But before we do that, fellow Kenyans, let me just humbly request you that if at all we are meeting for the first time, please don't forget to click the subscribe button. You can as well like, you can share, you can drop me your comment at the comment section. Tell me what you think, where you're watching this video from, and how these videos are reaching. If you're within the country, it is good to tell me which part of the country you're watching from, and if you're outside the country, I humbly request you to tell me which country. Just drop me the flag at the comment section, and I will figure it out by myself. Now, in NYANZA alone, imagine in NYANZA alone, we have 1.5 million people, not just people, but million adults who are not registered as voters. They have no IDs, meaning they cannot vote. You know, once you don't have an ID, you are an adult, whether you are an adult or not, whether you are 18 years and above, and you don't have an ID, as long as you don't have an ID, you are not allowed, you are not eligible to vote. Imagine we have got 1.5 million people from NYANZA. I want us to understand ourselves here. I want us to, nataka tuende pole pole, and I want us to understand each other here. In NYANZA, that is Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Siaya, we have over 1.5 million, not 1,500. 1.5 million people. That is like a section. That is like you know the whole of a region. That is the votes of all of us, a place who are not registered as voters. They don't have IDs. But now I want us to break this thing this way. Number one, what is really the problem with 1.5 million people? Why is it that over 1.5 million people have never voted? They don't have IDs. Of course, I've told you that if you don't have an ID, you are not allowed to vote. We have to, and I've told you that across the 4 counties of the NYANZA counties, that is Kisumu, Homa Bay, Siaya, and Migori, the government data, according to what we've just seen, the government data exposed that over 1.5 million adult, eligible adults lack IDs. No ID, it means that you can't vote. It means that you have got there's no political power. So, when these people were making noise, that Raila this, Baba nachukua shukani, this uongozi this time round ni yetu, they knew very well that they don't have votes. They don't have IDs. And you know one thing I came to discover, fellow Kenyans, the truth of the matter is that I realized that you see these people that normally shout, kila mkutano wapo. Those people, majority of them don't have IDs. And I have to say this without fear of contradiction. And I was asking, there was a time that I did a video for those who've been here for a very long time, and I asked, these people, these politicians that are normally happy when Kenyans wanajaa kwa mikutano zao, and then wanapigiwa makeleles and they are happy. If at all crowd can make someone a president, then whether we like it or not, Raila Odinga could have been the president long time ago. Kama crowd tu ndo inafanya mtu anakuwa rais, mtu akiangalia tu crowd ile anasema kwamba basi like the crowd peke yake tu inafanya mtu anakuwa kiongozi, then Raila could have been the president over and over again. But you see that crowd has got mixed reaction, has got mixed people with the IDs, people with no IDs, people with the IDs but have not registered, because you can have an ID but you've not registered as a voter. It means that you can't vote. So that is the greatest challenge that has been in NYANZA. And some of these people are aged between 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Of course, we know very well that this statistics was done from age between, I think, 30 and 60. So 30 to 60 aged people, over 1.5 million, have got no IDs. And what is funny is that, you see, these are the same people that will be making a lot of noise. Historically, you see, historically, Raila Odinga could have been the president. Yes? With which people? These same people. The second thing, I want us to ask ourselves that why is this thing a matter politically? Why is this thing, why is this 1.5 million number a very good and a very huge matter right now in politics? It is not about this number is not just about paperwork. It is about power. And power, all of us understand that power is not given, power is taken. And nothing, a friend of mine normally say that nothing happens coincidentally. Like nothing in politics, nothing just happens. Everything that happens, it has been strategized, it has been arranged, and that is why it happens. You understand? So 1.5 million potential voters could do, number one, could strengthen. I just want us to look at why this number matters and why it really mattered. I want us to start why it really mattered. Why is this number really mattered? Suppose it was discovered when Raila Odinga wanted to become the president. Suppose this 1.5 million mattered during the time that Raila Odinga was still alive and wanted to become the president. Number one, this thing could have really strengthened Luo Nyanza's influence in national elections. Of course, we know that Luo Nyanza was very influential, but through word of mouth, but not during the time of the ballot. Number two, it would really change the coalition math. And now, I want us to compare it. It mattered. It would have mattered when Raila Odinga was alive. It could have made Raila Odinga become the president by then. But now, why is it a matter now as we approach 2027 general election? Number one, it is really going to strengthen Luo Nyanza's influence in national election. Number two, it's really going to change coalition's math ahead of 2027. And number three, it is going to reshape presidential and parliamentary outcomes. And of course, the last one, it is going to be like an increased bargaining power for the region. To put it as a perspective, the 1.5 million voters is more than the entire voting block of population of some regions in Kenya. Of course, I've told you that when you try to look at the number, when you go to Eastern Province, you know, some parts actually, I don't know, I think Western is more than this. So imagine that 1.5 million people have decided to register as voters. What would happen? What is really going to happen? That is for another day. Let's just say even a half of these people get IDs. 1.5 million people. That is roughly 750,000. Yeah, that is 750,000 people. 750,000 people is not a joke. That number is so huge. So imagine how watu wameamua na wachukue kura, and then they have the idea, and then they wachukue kura, and then they decide to vote in one basket. It's really going to shape a lot of things. The third thing, we need to ask ourselves, you know, getting to a point where we have got over 1.5 million people ambao hawajachukua kura, ambao hawana ID, it is not a joke. So first questions, I know people might be asking, how did we get there? Because we didn't just get here overnight. Luo Nyanza didn't just get to a point where now we have got over 1.5 million people who have got no IDs, who have not registered overnight. It is something that it used to happen. How did it happen? Number one, it might have happened maybe because of maybe the distance. We can talk about maybe distance to access these issues, especially in rural communities. Number two, we can also talk about low civic awareness, historical marginalization, whereby we have got long-standing delay in documentation. Of course, we know very well that sometimes you can register as you can acquire an ID and it's going to take longer than expected. So it makes people feel like, you know, there's no need of voting because there's no need of registering as a voter because my ID delayed. Those are just very few things, but I don't think that that is the main issue. Now, I want us now to focus here. Why now? Because I've watched Raymond Omolo have started pushing the agenda of making sure that these unregistered voters have IDs and they've registered as voters. And of course, there is an aggressive ID registration campaign going on, whereby they're talking about safari ya kesho inapangwa leo. So that is why I've told you that Raymond Omolo is really playing a very huge part in William Ruto's William Ruto's government, and that is why William Ruto haizi akakubali kumwachilia. I want us to understand here that with the 2027 elections approaching, this issue is suddenly becoming an urgent. And if there is something that is really being treated as an urgency right now, is to make sure that these 1.5 million people that are coming from Luo Nyanza are registered as voters. They have IDs and they're registered as voters. Why? Because, you know, William Ruto is trying to weigh this thing this way. There is a place, like let's say for instance, in Central Province, William Ruto cannot get votes that he got. Of course, we know what inspired and all that. So he's not going to get 100% votes that he got. So he has to look for another way out. He didn't know, maybe he had got no idea how he's going to maneuver through this. But the moment these statistics came out, he decided now, this is the best opportunity now that I can use to recover the votes that are lost in Central Province. And number one thing that now I believe is that the government teams are moving door to door in Luo Nyanza to issue IDs. Because, you know, this is the only way they can use to redeem themselves. Now, if this is the only way that they can use to redeem themselves, what are they going to do? Number one, they have to make sure, and I like here, they have to make sure that they issue IDs door to door in order for everybody. These people have got no IDs to have IDs. Number two, political players are eyeing to the rain huge unregistered vote. I think I've told you this. We've talked about this there. And then they also this civil society pushing for fair and inclusive registration. And the last one, the I coalition knows. Every coalition right now knows that if Luo Nyanza unlocks even 1 million as new voters, the electoral map changes completely. And this is no longer an administrative issue. This is now the biggest potential shift in Kenyan politics ahead of 2027. And let me tell you this. One thing I believe and one thing I know right now is that every shift, the concentration now is going to be on Luo Nyanza. The government led by William Ruto is really going to eye now for the Luo Nyanza to make sure or to ensure that these people are registered as voters. But then, in as much as now they're going to do this, in as much as this issue is going to rise, is going to happen, we have got opportunities, and at the same time there is also risks. Now, opportunity is this: empowering a forgotten population. How are they going to empower a forgotten population? Registering voters could fix decades of political underrepresentation. Like you find that there are some sections there are some areas which have never been supported, had been forgotten. Now they're not going to be forgotten right now. They're going, because imagine right now they're walking door to door to ensure that people are registered as voters and people have got IDs. That is an opportunity for everybody to have an ID. But again, there is a risk. The risk number one is that there is going to be political manipulation. Now, talking about the risk of political manipulation, there is a worry that registration is going to be rushed, and by rushing, these might be used to influence the regional's political allegations. Like, you know, when you are rushing to do something, or to fanya haraka, there are a lot of risks, there are a lot of manipulations going on. That, oh, you know, mfanyeni hivi, mkifanya hivi, tutakuwa hivi. That is something that is there. Another opportunity is that there is going to be increased civic participation, and whereby you're going to find that more engagement in Luo Nyanza is going to mean that there are going to be stronger democracy nationally. But, you know, in as much as there's going to be more of increased participation, there is going to be a failed mobilization, because you find that there is going to be that pressure. We do this thing, tufanye kitu haraka na tumalize. Because if the process is slow, corruption, or poorly executed, the majority may still remain unregistered by 2027. And again, this is why activists, elders, and religious leaders and local politicians are scrambling to ensure transparency. Of course, there is going to be failed mobilization. There has been failed mobilization, but now, being that right now it has been discovered by that over 1.5, the real question that now we need to ask ourselves is this, because there is going to be a lot to be watched going forward. Number one thing that is going to be watched, there is issue of IDs, the issues of ID numbers. Number two, voters sign up stats per county. Number three, political shift. We're talking about political shift. You'll find out that parties are going to adjust their strategies based on their new potential. We are going to have a lot of parties concentrating right now on NYANZA. In NYANZA, of course, we know that ODM had taken NYANZA for a very long time, but it's going to be different based on now the decision that is going to be made by these 1.5 million unregistered voters in Luo NYANZA. Now, what is it? My final thought. You know, this story of 1.5 million unregistered voters in Luo NYANZA is not just about election. It is about identity. It's also about history. And finally, it's about the power. And I want us to look at this thing this way, yeah? Because for decades, these people were invisible in Kenya. They were completely invisible in Kenya democratic process. And then now, their voice could now be heard out. Like, lazima sasa sauti yao isikizwe. Hao watu wako wanasikizwa kwa sababu hawakuwepo. They were nowhere to be seen, they were nowhere to be heard. But right now, there is that interest, like, they have to be heard. So what is it that is going to be done to make sure that these people are heard? Because whether this becomes the biggest voting awareness awakening in modern Kenyan history, or a misused opportunity, because according to me, I think that this one was a missed opportunity, especially during the time that Raila Odinga was vying to become the president. Take a look at this thing this way. Suppose all these people, these 1.5 million people registered as voters. Do you really think that William Ruto could have defeated Raila Odinga with 1,000, or I don't know how many votes that William Ruto elected Raila Odinga in 2022? Because hii number, kama wangeregister wote, wangekuwa na ID na wangeregister wote kama voter, and they coming from Luo NYANZA, even 1 million wangepigia Raila kura. Just 1 million. In fact, not even 1 million. Just 750, half of this wangepigia kura. Na angekuwa rais. But you know, as the saying goes, that it is a missed opportunity. It was a missed opportunity, and I really don't know what's going to happen. So my question is this: do you really think Luo NYANZA's 1.5 million votes and registered adults votes will reshape the 2027 general election? Personally, yes. I don't know your side, but on my side, I really think it's going to reshape, because ODM must now fight. And of course, you know very well that ODM is divided. Those who are in government are fighting to ensure that all these people are registered as voters. And after registering as voters, they have to make sure that these people have got a party. Those who are in government. Now, those who are not supporting the government are also here, because you can't tell me that you're going to take UDA in Luo NYANZA. You are pushing the agenda, what were registered as voters, and then you're taking UDA in Luo NYANZA. It's not going to work. That is one thing I believe that cannot work. Is not going to work. It can't work. Tuseme tu kweli. No, tusemezane tu kweli. Kitu kama hicho kizi kakafanyika. It can't work. Ati umeregister watu wameregister kama voter alafu napeleka party nyingine Luo Nyanza. It can't survive. So, personally, I really think that it is really going to be to reshape the voting block, like votes in Luo Nyanza. It's going to be awakening call to the Nyanza people and even to the politicians, to the parties. Parties are going to scramble in Luo Nyanza after this to ensure that at least they get the vote. But why now? Hizi vitu ambazo zinafanyika surely. Kwa nini zingefanyika kitambo? Sasa hizi ndio zinafanyika. Anyway, let me know what you think at the comment section, fellow Kenyans.